Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is a opinionated based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears to some of the trepidous things that take place throughout our cities, states, country, and sometimes our world. And this one is straight out of Virginia, where a high school kid got killed last year at his high school graduation. How crazy is that? By a 20-year-old. And multiple lives got lost in this saga. Virginia man sentenced to 43 years after pleading guilty to killing teen who had just graduated. A young man accused in last year's fatal shooting of a teenager who had received his high school diploma minutes earlier in Richmond, Virginia, has pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and a firearm-related charge. A young man accused in last year's fatal shooting of a teenager who had received his Virginia high school diploma minutes earlier at a public event pleaded guilty on recently to first-degree murder charges and a firearm-related charge and was sentenced to 43 years in prison. Armani Pollard, you won't believe it, 20 years old, entered the plea during the fourth day of his trial in the shooting outside the Huguenot High School graduation that left 18-year-old Sean Jackson dead, news outlets report. Richmond Circuit Court Judge W. Riley Marchant, who sentenced Pollard, suspended 18 years of the sentence, meaning he could be eligible for release in 25 years, the Richmond Times-Dispatch reported. Pollard entered the plea after Marchant made two decisive rulings against him earlier that week. The judge ruled against a motion to downgrade Pollard's charges and the admission of certain evidence. Both Jackson and his stepfather, Lorenzo Smith, sit down and listen, were shot and killed at the conclusion of a graduation ceremony outside Richmond's Altria Theater, located on the outskirts of Virginia Commonwealth University. 5 other people were wounded by gunfire, and at least 12 more suffered other injuries or were treated for anxiety due to the mayhem, police said. Pollard initially also was charged in the stepfather's death, Mr. Smith's death, but prosecutors later dropped the charges, determining after a long investigation that they lacked the evidence needed to try him for that shooting. Well, if the son and the stepfather both died in the same incident, who do you think probably shot the stepfather? Why would they drop that charge? At the time of the violence, Richmond police said that Pollard knew Jackson and the two had been embroiled in a dispute for more than a year. A report prepared by a law firm for the Richmond Public Schools and released in January said that Jackson had been kept home for months because of fears for his safety, but was still allowed to attend the commencement ceremonies. So this kid wasn't even going to school because of all this craziness that was going on at his school with threats and bullying with this gentleman who was 20 years old. I'm assuming he was not still in high school. Was he coming up there and bothering this kid or what? Richmond City Commonwealth Attorney Colette McEachin said in a news release after the pleas that Pollard's callous and thoughtless actions in a public graduation in a public space in the middle of the afternoon are the sole reasons that he is going to serve 25 years in prison. His actions and his actions alone are the reason he's going to spend this kind of time in prison. Wow, man, this is a story. There are stories with these high schools and which are supposed to be a place of learning and development, are turning into like mini prison camps. Recently at Hazelwood East High School, we had two 15-year-old girls get into a fight after school around the corner from Hazelwood East High School in St. Louis, North County. And the one young lady who lost the fight uh, ended up getting her head smashed on a concrete street, and now she is in critical care and in a coma and has been that way for almost 2 weeks. And the state of Missouri or St. Louis County is thinking about charging the perpetrator, the 15-year-old perpetrator, as an adult. Where are we going in this world? Then 4 days later, a 15-year-old at Jennings Junior High, leaving school again after school, gets stabbed to death. And there were 100 people out there, and they didn't have any witnesses. And then they finally, just the other day, found the suspect in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the capital of Missouri, which is about 2.5 hours away. This 15-year-old kid, a 14-year-old kid that was in junior high, he gets stabbed to death like he's being shanked on a prison yard. In both instances, at the Hazelwood East instance, where the girl was bashing and beating the heck out of the other young lady and put her in a coma, people are sitting around videotaping it, cheering and making noises like they're watching a UFC fight. And then, like I said, the juvenile that got stabbed to death, there were supposedly 100 people out there, and nobody came forward as a witness. But they eventually caught up with this kid just the other day and found him in Jeff City. In Virginia, a 20-year-old goes and shoots a senior in high school and kills him and his stepfather. Kills an 18-year-old kid, Sean Jackson. Look at the dichotomy there. This is supposed to be a celebration of you graduating from high school. All the lessons that you learned from the books. There's a certain level of maturity. And now you're getting ready to get your life started to go to college, military, trade school, and you're starting to enter manhood. And then this other gentleman who's 20 years old decides to take your life. Jealousy, mental illness, the multiplicity negative dynamics that are taking place in many of these households, with fatherless homes, with uncle-less homes, with homes that do not have grandfathers, big brothers, a male role model, is just decimating our urban community. And here, in all three of these instances, at Hazelwood East, there's a black female that beat the heck out of a white female at Hazelwood East and put her in a coma. A black kid stabbed to death a kid at Jennings Junior High School after school. And now you have this black kid, Armani Pollard, 20. He goes and kills another black kid and the stepfather. At some point, we as black people have to start addressing this. We will protest for white cops killing black unarmed citizens and Black Lives Matter, but we are not protesting and raising our voice for black on black crime, which is outpacing any other kinds of crimes that any other race of people are perpetrating against black folks. Black on black violence is happening each and every day, and these individuals are getting to be younger and younger. Chicago, a month or two ago, you had 2 kids that were ambushed and gunned down in broad daylight at 12 in the afternoon while they were on their lunch break in the Chicago Loop. Here recently, you had 8 kids that were shot in Philadelphia at a bus stop. What are we turning into? A third world country? We have to make sure that public safety is one of the number one priorities for everyone. And these kids are going to school to learn, not to prepare to go to prison or to prepare to go to the cemetery. We have to talk about this. Both of their lives are over. Armani Pollard, 20 years old, he gets a 25-year sentence for murder. and that would be on his record forever. And then Sean Jackson is deceased. When is this going to end?